The morning sun rose over Kepler 442b, but it was not the gentle light that once warmed the planet. Strange colors danced across the sky like angry spirits. Red and purple flames flickered where blue skies should have been. The air itself seemed to burn. Dr. Zara Velquin pressed her three-fingered hand against the thick glass window of her laboratory. Through the protective barrier, she watched the world die. Her silver skin had grown pale over the past months, matching the fear in her large, dark eyes. Outside, the plants that had grown for thousands of years were turning black and falling to the ground. The rivers had dried up. Even the insects that once filled the air with gentle songs had gone silent. Zara turned away from the window and looked at her team. 5 other Zephyrians sat around the metal table in the center of the room. Their faces showed the same hopeless expression she felt in her heart. Charts and numbers covered every surface around them. All the charts told the same terrible story. "The magnetic field is down to 12%, said Dr. Keth, the oldest scientist on the team. His voice shook as he spoke. "The radiation from our star is killing everything it touches. Our underground cities can protect us for maybe 3 more months. After that," he did not need to finish. They all knew what came after that. Zara walked to the huge computer screen that took up one entire wall. Numbers and graphs showed how their world was failing. The planet's magnetic shield, which had protected them from harmful space radiation for millions of years, was breaking apart. Their sun had begun shooting out deadly energy that burned through space like invisible fire. Without the magnetic shield, nothing could survive on the surface. "We have tried everything," said Dr. Myra, a young engineer with bright green markings on her neck. "The shield generators we built only work for small areas. We cannot protect the whole planet. We do not have enough power or materials." Zara nodded slowly. For 6 months, the smartest minds on their world had worked day and night to find a solution. They had built machines to try to fix their magnetic field. They had dug deeper underground cities. They had even tried to create artificial atmospheres. Nothing worked. The problem was too big for them to solve alone. "What about the message to the other worlds?" asked Dr. Keth. "Any answers yet?" 3 weeks ago, they had sent out a call for help using their most powerful radio transmitter. The message had gone out to every direction in space, hoping to reach other intelligent beings. So far, only silence had come back to them. "Nothing," Zara said quietly. "But the message is still traveling. It takes time to reach the far stars." The truth was that Zara did not think anyone would answer. The Zephyrians had been listening to space radio signals for many years. They knew there were other intelligent species out there. Some of them seemed to have incredible technology that could do amazing things. But none of them had ever tried to contact Kepler 442b. Why would they care about a dying world? Dr. Myra stood up and walked to another computer. "I have been thinking about sending a different kind of message. Not just asking for help, but explaining who we are. Maybe if other beings understand us, they will care more." "What do you mean?" Zara asked. "We could send information about our culture, our history, our art. We could show them that we are not just another species asking for help. We are real beings with families and dreams and hopes." Zara felt a small spark of hope in her chest. It was the first time in weeks that anyone had suggested something new. "That might work. But we should be completely honest. We should tell them how desperate we really are." For the next 3 hours, the team worked together to create a new message. They included pictures of their cities before the disaster began. They added recordings of their music and poetry. They shared stories of their children playing in parks that no longer existed. They explained their science and their philosophy and their love for learning about the universe. But most importantly, they were honest about their fear. Zara recorded the final part of the message herself. She stood in front of the main transmitter, looking directly into the camera. Her silver skin seemed to glow under the laboratory lights. When she spoke, her voice was clear, but filled with emotion. Ancient ones of the stars, we are dying. Our world is failing, and we have tried everything we know. We do not ask for your help because we think we deserve it. We ask because we have children who have never seen a sunset without fear. We have elders who remember when our sky was blue and our rivers ran clear. We have dreams we will never achieve and songs we will never sing if our voices are silenced forever. She paused and took a deep breath. We know that asking for help from strangers is not logical. We know that saving us would cost you time and energy and resources. We know that you have your own people to care for. But if there is any mercy in the cosmos, if there is any kindness in the darkness between stars, please help us. We do not want to disappear from the universe without a trace. Please, if you can hear this message, remember that we existed. Remember that we loved and learned and hoped, just like you. The message was sent that evening as their dying sun set behind clouds of radiation. It raced out into space at the speed of light, carrying the hopes of an entire civilization dot across the galaxy. The message reached many worlds. The architects, beings made of living crystal who could move stars and create new planets, received it on their home world. They calculated the cost of helping and decided it was too expensive. The collective, vast minds made of pure energy that span multiple galaxies, analyzed the request and determined it was outside their normal operations. The Federation, a network of machine worlds that had solved the problem of death itself, classified the plea as having low strategic value. Dozens of advanced civilizations heard the cry for help. All of them had the technology to save Kepler-442b easily. All of them chose not to respond. All except one small blue world in an unremarkable corner of the galaxy. A young planet where the dominant species had barely learned to travel between their own nearby worlds. A planet called Earth, where beings called humans had received the message and were doing something that amazed and confused every advanced civilization that was watching. The humans were arguing about whether they should try to help. Captain Elena Vasquez stood in the emergency meeting room deep inside the United Earth Council building. Through the large windows, she could see the lights of Geneva spreading out below like stars on the ground. But her mind was not on the beautiful view. Instead, she was thinking about the alien message that had changed everything. The room buzzed with heated arguments. Politicians in expensive suits sat next to scientists in wrinkled lab coats. Military officers with rows of medals debated with engineers who had grease under their fingernails. Everyone was talking at once, and nobody was agreeing on anything. "This is completely insane," Director Chun said loudly, slamming his hand on the long metal table. "We can barely keep the International Space Station running properly. How can we possibly save an entire alien civilization?" Dr. Sarah Kim, the lead engineer for the Prometheus project, pulled up holographic displays showing their most advanced spaceship. The ship looked impressive floating in the air above the table, but Elena knew the truth. The Prometheus was humanity's greatest achievement, but compared to the technology they would need for this mission, it was like trying to cross an ocean in a rowboat. "The math is simple," Dr. Kim continued. Kepler-442b is 47 light-years away. Our fastest ship can make the journey in 8 months if we push the engines beyond their safe limits. But the radiation around their star would kill a human crew in hours. And even if we somehow survived the trip, what could we actually do when we got there? Elena listened to the arguments flowing around her like water around a rock. She had heard all of these points before during the 3 days since the alien message arrived. The scientists were right about the technical problems. The politicians were right about the massive costs. The military advisors were right about the extreme dangers. but none of them had addressed the real question that kept Elena awake at night. "May I speak?" Elena said quietly. The room gradually fell silent as people turned to look at her. She was not the most senior person there, but everyone knew her reputation. She had commanded the first human mission to Jupiter's moons. She had led the rescue operation when the Mars colony almost failed. When Elena Vasquez spoke about space missions, people listened. "I have been thinking about this for 3 days," she began, walking slowly around the table. "Everyone here has explained very clearly why this mission is impossible. You are all correct. We do not have the technology. We do not have the resources. We probably do not have enough time. The chances of success are tiny." Director Chun nodded firmly. "Exactly. So you agree we should not attempt this foolish mission?" "No," Elena said firmly. "I think we have to try." The room erupted in surprised voices. Elena held up her hand for silence and continued speaking. "I keep thinking about something Dr. Martinez told me yesterday," she said, looking toward the elderly scientist who ran the Deep Space Communications Center. "He said that in all our years of listening to space radio signals, we have detected dozens of advanced civilizations. Some of them have technology that seems like magic to us. They can travel faster than light. They can move entire planets. They can live forever." Elena stopped walking and looked directly at Director Chun. "But do you know what else Dr. Martinez told me? Not one of those advanced civilizations has ever responded to a distress call from another species. Not once. In 50 years of monitoring space communications, we have recorded 16 different desperate pleas for help from dying worlds. The advanced civilizations always ignore them." Dr. Kim frowned. "That proves my point. If beings with godlike technology cannot or will not help these aliens, what makes you think we can?" "Because we are not thinking about this the right way," Elena replied. "Everyone assumes that advanced technology is what these aliens need. But what if that is wrong? What if what they really need is something else entirely?" Elena activated her own holographic display. Instead of showing spaceships or weapons, it showed pictures from Earth's history. Images of humans helping each other during natural disasters. Doctors working in poor countries. Volunteers rebuilding cities after earthquakes. Ordinary people doing extraordinary things to help strangers. What if the problem is not that the other civilizations cannot help? Elena asked. What if the problem is that they will not help? What if all their advanced technology has made them forget something important about what it means to be alive? The room stayed quiet for a long moment. Elena could see people thinking about her words, trying to understand what she meant. Dr. Martinez, the old communications expert, spoke up from his corner seat. "I have been studying the alien message very carefully. The interesting thing is what they did not ask for. They did not ask for specific technology or weapons or ships. They asked for mercy. They asked for kindness. They asked to be remembered." "That is exactly right," Elena said, feeling excitement building in her chest. "They are not looking for a technological solution. They are looking for hope. They are looking for someone who cares enough to try, even when the odds are bad." Director Chun shook his head. "You are talking about emotions and feelings. Those things will not fix a broken magnetic field or stop deadly radiation." "Maybe not," Elena admitted. "But maybe they will give us the motivation to find solutions that nobody else has thought of. Maybe caring about strangers will make us creative in ways that pure logic cannot." Elena looked around the room at all the faces staring at her. She saw doubt and fear and confusion, but she also saw something else. In a few eyes, she saw the same spark that had driven humans to climb the highest mountains and explore the deepest oceans and reach for the stars in the first place. "I volunteer to lead this mission," she said clearly. "I know it is probably a one-way trip. I know we might fail completely. But I also know that if we do not try, those aliens will die knowing that the universe is full of intelligent beings who have the power to help but choose not to care. Dr. Kim stood up slowly. If Captain Vasquez is serious about this, I want to help design the mission. We might not have perfect technology, but we have something the other civilizations seem to have lost. We still believe that impossible just means really difficult. One by one, others in the room began to speak up. The chief medical officer volunteered to develop radiation protection systems. The head of engineering offered to modify the Prometheus beyond its original design. Even some of the politicians who have been arguing against the mission began talking about how to fund it. Director Chun watched the mood in the room change with amazement. Finally, he sighed and activated his communicator. "This is Director Chun calling President Williams," he said. "We need an emergency cabinet meeting. The Earth Council has just voted to approve the most insane rescue mission in human history." As Elena looked around the room at people who were suddenly working together instead of arguing, she felt something she had not expected. For the first time since the alien message arrived, she felt hope. Maybe they could not save Kepler 442b. Maybe they would all die trying. But at least the universe would know that when someone called for help, Earth had answered. The Prometheus initiative floated in space like a silver needle against the black emptiness between stars. Inside the ship, 200 humans lived and worked in spaces designed for half that number. Every corner was filled with equipment, supplies, and experimental technology that Earth scientists had built in just 6 weeks. Captain Elena Vasquez walked through the narrow corridors, checking on her crew. It had been 3 months since they left Earth, and the journey was taking its toll on everyone. The ship's engines hummed constantly, pushed far beyond their safe limits to reach Kepler 442b in time. Strange vibrations shook the walls, and mysterious sounds echoed through the metal halls at night. Elena stopped at the medical bay where Dr. James Okafor was examining Specialist Rodriguez. Like many of the crew, Rodriguez had been exposed to too much radiation from the overworked engines. His skin was pale, and his hand shook slightly as Dr. Okafor ran the medical scanner over his chest. "How is he?" Elena asked quietly. Dr. Okafor, a tall man from Nigeria who had been the best xenobiology expert on Earth, shook his head slowly. "The radiation exposure is getting worse for everyone. We have lost 8 people so far, and 15 more are seriously ill. The radiation shielding we brought is not enough for such a long journey at these speeds." Elena felt a familiar weight in her stomach. Every day brought new problems that no one had expected. The ship's water recycling system had broken down twice. The food storage units were failing because of the engine vibrations. Worst of all, the experimental faster-than-light drive was consuming fuel much faster than planned. "Can we reduce the engine power?" Elena asked. "If we slow down, we will arrive too late to help anyone," Dr. Okafor replied. "But if we maintain this speed, we might not have enough crew members left alive to operate the ship when we get there." It was an impossible choice, like so many others they had faced during this journey. Elena had stopped counting how many times the crew had solved problems with materials they did not have, using knowledge they were still learning, to fix systems that had never been tested under these conditions. Elena left the medical bay and continued toward the main laboratory. Along the way, she passed the communication station where Lieutenant Park was maintaining contact with Kepler 442b every day. The alien scientist named Zara sent them updates about the situation on the dying planet. Every day, the news got worse. The main laboratory took up the largest space on the ship. Here, 30 of Earth's best scientists worked day and night to understand Zephyrian technology and biology. Holographic displays showed complex diagrams of alien machines. Computer screens filled with strange equations that combine human physics with Zephyrian science. Dr. Maria Santos, The team psychologist was talking with Dr. Kim about the latest message from Zara. Both women looked exhausted. Everyone on the ship was working 18-hour days, surviving on stimulant pills and determination. What did Zara say today? Elena asked. Dr. Santos activated a recording device. Zara's translated voice filled the room, speaking careful English that she had learned by studying human broadcasts. Her words carried a weight of sadness that made everyone stop working to listen. Captain Vasquez, the situation here grows worse each day. We have moved all surviving population to the deepest underground cities. The surface temperature now reaches 160 degrees Celsius during the day. Our food production has stopped completely. We estimate 18 days of emergency supplies remaining. Elena felt her heart sink. According to their navigation computer, the Prometheus would not reach Kepler 442b for another 25 days. Zara's voice continued. But I want you to know something important. Your species confuses us. We have been studying your planet's radio transmissions while waiting for your arrival. We see that your world has problems too. You have wars and poverty and disease. You have people who do not have enough food, while others waste resources. Yet, you sent your best ship and your brightest people to save us. Why? Elena had heard this question from Zara many times during their journey. Each time, she struggled to find the right answer. Dr. Santos stopped the recording and looked at Elena. She asked this question every day. I think she really needs to understand our motivation. Maybe that understanding is as important as any technology we can bring them. Elena nodded slowly. She had been thinking about Zara's question for weeks. Why were they really here? It was not logical to risk so many human lives for aliens they had never met. It was not practical to spend resources they could use to solve problems on Earth. It was not smart to attempt a mission that would probably fail. Record a response, Elena said. She sat down in front of the communication device and thought carefully about her words. Zara, you ask why we are here. The honest answer is that we do not completely understand it ourselves. Yes, Earth has many problems. Yes, we could use our resources to help humans instead of aliens. But there is something in human nature that cannot ignore a call for help, even when helping is dangerous. Elena paused, trying to find words that would translate properly. Maybe it is because we remember our own history. Humans have survived many disasters by helping each other. When one group had no food, others shared. When floods destroyed cities, strangers came to rebuild. We learned that the strong survive by protecting the weak, not by abandoning them. But there is another reason, Elena continued. We are here because the universe is vast and cold and empty. In all that darkness, intelligence and kindness and hope are rare and precious things. When we heard your message, we realized that losing your civilization would make the universe a smaller and sadder place. We could not let that happen while we had the power to try to stop it. When the message was sent, Dr. Okafor joined Elena at the communication station. Captain, I have been working on the technical problems we will face when we arrive. Even if our ship survives the journey, I am not sure our human technology can solve their planetary crisis. Elena smiled grimly. Dr. Okafor, 3 months ago, nobody thought this ship could travel 47 light years. 2 months ago, nobody thought we could keep 200 people alive in space for 8 months. Last month, nobody thought we could understand Zephyrian science well enough to communicate with them. We have already done 3 impossible things. What is one more? Dr. Okafor laughed despite their terrible situation. Around the laboratory, other crew members had stopped their work to listen. Elena could see the exhaustion in their faces, but she could also see something else. The same determination that had brought them this far. Besides, Elena added, we are not just bringing technology to Kepler 442b. We are bringing something that advanced civilizations seem to have forgotten. We are bringing the human stubborn refusal to give up when things look hopeless. Maybe that is exactly what Zara and her people need. 25 days later, the Prometheus initiative limped into the Kepler 442 system with failing engines, a sick crew, and almost no fuel left. But they had made it. Now they had to prove that sometimes the strongest force in the universe is the simple willingness to care. The Prometheus initiative hung in orbit around Kepler 442b like a wounded bird. Through the observation deck windows, Captain Elena Vasquez looked down at the dying planet below. The world that should have been blue and green was instead painted in angry reds and purples. Massive storms of radiation swirled across the surface like poison clouds. Elena felt her heart sink as she watched. Even after the long journey, even after all their preparations, seeing the planet in person made the challenge seem overwhelming. How could anyone survive down there? How could they possibly fix something this broken? "Captain," called Dr. James Okafor from his science station. "We are receiving a transmission from the surface." The main screen flickered to life, showing Dr. Zara Velquin broadcasting from deep underground. The alien scientist looked even more exhausted than she had in previous messages. Her silver skin had turned pale gray, and her large dark eyes showed the strain of months without sunlight. "Captain Vasquez," Zara said, her voice weak but still determined. "We cannot believe you actually made it. Our sensors show your ship is badly damaged. Are your people safe?" Elena stepped forward to respond. "We lost 20 crew members during the journey, Dr. Zara, but 180 humans are ready to help your people. What is your current situation?" "We have 9 days of food remaining," Zara replied honestly. "Our power systems are failing. The radiation levels on the surface would kill any of us in minutes. We have perhaps 2,000 Zephyrians left alive in our deepest shelters. We are grateful you came, but I must ask, what can you possibly do that we cannot?" It was a fair question. Elena looked around at her tired crew. They had remarkable technology for humans, but compared to what the Zephyrians had already tried, the human equipment seemed primitive. The aliens had built massive magnetic field generators. They had created underground cities with fusion power plants. They had developed radiation shields that were far more advanced than anything on Earth. Dr. Okafor cleared his throat. "Dr. Zara, we would like to send down a small team to examine your technology and your situation in person. We may not have better equipment, but we might have different ideas about how to use what you already have." Zara looked confused. "Different ideas?" "Captain, our best scientists have worked on this problem for 8 months. We have tried every possible solution." Elena smiled slightly. "Dr. Zara, let me tell you something about humans. We are very good at finding solutions that nobody thinks are possible. Sometimes the best way to solve a problem is to stop thinking like an expert and start thinking like a person who does not know the rules." 3 hours later, a human shuttle landed in the main underground city of Kepler 442b. Elena led a team of 12 specialists through the alien corridors. The Zephyrian architecture was beautiful but strange, with curved walls that seemed to flow like water and lights that pulsed like heartbeats. Dr. Zara met them at the landing platform with 6 other Zephyrian scientists. Even underground, Elena could feel the weight of the crisis. The air tasted metallic, and distant rumbling sounds suggested that the planet's crust was under terrible stress. "Welcome to New Kepler City," Zara said formally, "though there is little left to welcome you to." Elena looked around at the alien city. Thousands of Zephyrians moved through the corridors with the slow, careful movements of people who had given up hope. Children stayed close to their parents, and elders sat quietly in corners, waiting for the end. But Elena saw something else. She saw incredible technology that could be modified. She saw people who understood science and engineering. Most importantly, she saw the raw materials for solutions that nobody had tried yet. Dr. Sarah Kim, the human engineer, was already examining the Zephyrian power systems. Dr. Zara, these fusion reactors are amazing. They are much more efficient than anything we have on Earth, but I noticed they are all connected in series. If one fails, they all fail. Yes, Zara replied. That is the most efficient design for power distribution. On Earth, we learned to build parallel systems, Dr. Kim explained. Less efficient, but much more reliable. If we rebuilt your power grid with parallel connections and backup systems, you could survive even if half your reactors failed. Zara looked puzzled. But that would require much more materials and energy to build. True, Dr. Kim agreed. But it would also mean your people could survive longer while we work on bigger solutions. Meanwhile, Dr. Okafor was studying the Zephyrian magnetic field generators with fascination. The alien machines were enormous and powerful, designed to protect the entire planet at once. But they kept failing because the planetary magnetic field was too damaged to hold together. What if we stopped trying to fix the whole planet at once? Dr. Okafor suggested. What if we built hundreds of smaller field generators to protect specific areas? That would only save small patches of land, protested Dr. Keth, the elderly Zephyrian physicist. It is not a complete solution. Maybe not, Dr. Okafor admitted, but it would save some land. And some land with living Zephyrians is better than a dead planet with perfect theoretical solutions. As the human and alien scientists worked together, something interesting began to happen. The humans kept suggesting ideas that the Zephyrians thought were imperfect or inefficient. But these imperfect solutions could be built quickly with available materials. The real breakthrough came when Dr. Maria Santos, the human psychologist, began talking with ordinary Zephyrian citizens instead of just the scientists. She discovered something important that the experts had missed. Dr. Zara, Dr. Santos said excitedly, "Your people have been so focused on finding a perfect solution that they stopped trying partial solutions. But your citizens have been improvising and adapting in amazing ways. They have created small growing spaces for food. They have built water recycling systems from spare parts. They have been solving problems every day, but nobody has been paying attention to their solutions." Elena watched as Dr. Santos organized meetings between human engineers and ordinary Zephyrian citizens. A maintenance worker showed them how to repair radiation shielding using common materials. A teacher demonstrated how to grow food in almost no soil. A child explained how to make air purifiers from broken electronic equipment. This is what we bring, Elena realized. Not better technology, but a different way of thinking. We bring the human tradition of making things work with whatever materials we have, instead of waiting for perfect materials that might never come. Over the next 6 days, humans and Zephyrians worked side by side to implement dozens of small solutions. None of them would save the planet by themselves, but together they began to make a difference. The partial magnetic field generators created safe zones where Zephyrians could work on the surface for short periods. The parallel power systems kept essential services running even when equipment failed. The improvised food production gave people hope that they might survive longer than expected. Most importantly, the collaboration gave the Zephyrians something they had lost, the belief that their situation could improve. "Captain Vasquez," Zara said on the 7th day, "I understand now why your people came here. You did not come to give us perfect solutions. You came to teach us that perfect solutions are not always necessary. Sometimes good enough solutions, implemented with care and hope, are better than perfect solutions that never get built." Elena nodded. "Dr. Zara, humans learned long ago that the enemy of good is perfect. We survive not by waiting for ideal conditions, but by making the best of whatever conditions we actually have. As Elena looked around at humans and aliens working together, building imperfect solutions with determination and hope, she knew they had brought Kepler-442b something more valuable than technology. They had brought the human spirit of never giving up, even when the situation seemed impossible. And for the first time in months, the future seemed possible. 3 years had passed since the Prometheus initiative first arrived at Kepler-442b. Captain Elena Vasquez stood on the observation platform of the new human Zephyrian research station, watching the sunrise over a world that should have been dead. Instead of the angry red radiation storms that once filled the sky, gentle blue light now filtered through a protective atmospheric dome that covered the main city. The planet was far from fully healed. Large areas still remained dangerous and uninhabitable. The magnetic field generators hummed constantly, creating safe zones where life could exist. But within those zones, something remarkable had grown. Zephyrian children played in gardens where vegetables grew in soil mixed with earth seeds. Human and alien scientists worked side by side in laboratories that combined technologies from both worlds. Elena smiled as she watched Dr. Zara Velquin teaching a group of young humans and Zephyrians about quantum physics. Zara's silver skin had regained its healthy glow, and her dark eyes sparkled with the enthusiasm of someone who had rediscovered hope. The alien scientist had become more than a colleague during their years working together. She had become Elena's closest friend. "Captain, we are receiving an interesting transmission," announced Lieutenant Park from the communication station. Park had been one of the volunteers who chose to stay on Kepler-442b permanently, becoming part of the growing community of humans and aliens who now called this world home. Elena walked over to the communications panel. "What kind of transmission?" "It is a distress call, Captain. From the Vega system. A species called the Alterans is reporting that their star is becoming unstable. They are asking for help." Elena felt her heart skip a beat. Another alien civilization in crisis, just like the Zephyrians had been 3 years ago. She activated the communication system to listen to the message. The Alteran voice spoke in a language that the station's computers translated into English. "This is the Alteran Science Council broadcasting to any civilizations who might receive this message. Our star is expanding rapidly, and our world will become uninhabitable within 6 months. We have exhausted our technological solutions. If there is anyone in the galaxy who has knowledge of stellar engineering or emergency evacuation procedures, please respond. We do not wish to disappear from the universe without hope." Elena noticed something familiar about the message. Like the Zephyrian plea years ago, it was not just asking for technology. It was asking for someone to care. "Captain," Park continued, "we are not the only ones who received this message. Our long-range sensors show that 17 different civilizations are responding to the Alteran distress call." Elena stared at the sensor readings in amazement. 17 responses to an alien distress call. In all of human history, they had never detected anything like this. Advanced civilizations simply did not respond to calls for help from strangers. Who was responding? She asked. Park activated the main screen, showing a map of the local galaxy with small lights indicating the responding civilizations. The Zephyrians launched a rescue ship 12 hours ago. The Centauri Federation is sending medical supplies. The Vega Collective is offering temporary shelter on their mobile habitats. And Captain, even the architects are sending a ship. Elena could barely believe what she was hearing. The architects, the ancient crystalline beings who considered most problems too expensive to solve, were actually sending help to strangers. Dr. Zara entered the communications room at that moment, having heard the excitement and the voices echoing through the station. "What is happening, Elena?" "Another civilization is in crisis," Elena explained. But this time, they are not being ignored. Civilizations all across this region are sending help. Zara's eyes widened. That is impossible. Advanced civilizations do not help strangers. It is not logical. It is not efficient. Elena smiled. 3 years ago, that would have been true. But maybe something has changed. Over the next several days, Elena and Zara monitored the rescue operation developing around the Vega system. It was unlike anything that had ever happened in recorded galactic history. The Zephyrians, despite their own world still being in recovery, sent their newest ship loaded with food and temporary shelters. The machine civilizations of the Federation contributed their incredible manufacturing capabilities. Even the energy beings of the collective, who had never shown interest in physical worlds before, offered to help evacuate the Alteran population. But the most amazing response came from the architects. These ancient beings, who could reshape planets and move stars, did something they had never done before. Instead of calculating the cost and benefit of helping, they simply began work on stabilizing the Alteran star. "I do not understand this," Dr. Zara said as they watched the rescue coordination through their telescopes. "Why are these civilizations suddenly willing to help strangers?" Elena had been thinking about the same question. "I think it started with us, Zara. When humans decided to help your people 3 years ago, we proved that it was possible for one species to care about another species without expecting anything in return. Maybe that idea has been spreading, like a virus?" Zara asked, confused. "Like hope," Elena corrected. "Hope that the universe does not have to be cold and empty. Hope that intelligence and kindness can work together. Hope that when someone calls for help, someone else will answer." As if to prove Elena's point, the communication system activated with an incoming message. Dr. Zara activated the main screen, revealing the crystal-like form of an architect speaking directly to their station. "This is Architect Primary Designation Crystal 779, the being said in a voice like singing glass. "We are coordinating the Alteran rescue operation. We wish to thank the Human Zephyrian Alliance for demonstrating that rescue operations can be both logical and beneficial. We have updated our cost-benefit calculations to include variables we had not previously considered." Elena stepped forward. "What variables, Crystal 779? "Hope. Compassion. The long-term benefits of a galaxy where civilizations help each other instead of ignoring each other. These factors were not in our previous equations. The human response to the Zephyrian crisis provided data we had never collected before." After the transmission ended, Zara turned to Elena with wonder in her eyes. "Elena, do you realize what this means? Humanity has changed how advanced civilizations think about helping others. You have changed the entire galaxy." Elena felt overwhelmed by the idea. When the Prometheus first left Earth, their only goal had been to save one dying world. They never imagined that their actions might influence civilizations across the galaxy. "Maybe," Elena said slowly, "or maybe we just reminded everyone of something they had forgotten. Maybe every intelligent species started out wanting to help each other. Maybe they just needed to see that it was still possible." 6 months later, the Alteran rescue was completed successfully. An entire civilization of 3 billion beings had been evacuated to safe worlds throughout the galaxy. Their star had been stabilized by the architects, and plans were underway to terraform several new worlds for the Alteran population. Elena stood in the same observation platform where this day had started. But now she was not alone. Dr. Zara stood beside her, along with representatives from 12 different alien species who had come to Kepler 442b to study what they were calling the human model of interstellar cooperation. "Captain," Lieutenant Park announced from the communication station, "we are receiving another transmission. This one is not a distress call." "What is it?" Elena asked. It is from Earth, Captain. Director Chun wants to speak with you. Elena activated the communication system, and the familiar face of Director Chun appeared on the main screen. The man who had argued against the Prometheus mission 3 years ago was now smiling broadly. Captain Vasquez, Director Chun said, I am calling to inform you that the Earth Council has established the Galactic Humanitarian Corps. With headquarters on Kepler 442b, Dr. Zaravel Quinn has been appointed as the first director, and you have been promoted to Admiral of Operations. It seems that crazy rescue mission of yours has started something big. Elena looked around at the aliens and humans working together, building something new and unprecedented in galactic history. When the Zephyrians had called the stars for saviors, only Earth had answered. But in answering, humanity had taught the galaxy something more important than any technology. They had taught the universe how to care. Director Chun, Elena replied, I think we are just getting started. As the transmission ended, Elena realized that the greatest discoveries were not always about science or technology. Sometimes the greatest discoveries were about remembering what it meant to be alive, to care for others, and to never give up hope. The stars had been called for saviors. And while ancient powers had calculated and computed, only Earth had answered. But in answering, humanity had changed everything. The galaxy would never be the same, and that was exactly how it should be.